Hello everyone, welcome to CommunityForce webinar. As you all know, my name is Mehreen Mirza and I will be facilitating today's session. I will also be answering questions during the Q&A break that we have. So please do not hesitate to ask anything throughout the session because I will also be replying to you by typing in your answers and not necessarily wait till the Q&A break. Also, we have with us our amazing Christine Smith, who will be the trainer for today and will walk us through all the relevant areas under today's topic. But before we get started and while everyone else joins, I'd like to show you a few features, key features to help you make the most of today's webinar. Now, on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a panel with an orange arrow. You can use this arrow to expand or collapse the panel to get a little bit more screen space. To ask any questions, please type in the questions in the question area and click on send or enter. We'll do our best to answer all of your questions as much as we can, either by typing them in or addressing them verbally during the Q&A break. If we miss answering any of your questions, don't worry, we'll follow up with you via a response through email after this webinar. Also, a PDF copy of today's presentation is available in the handout section. Click on the handout to download it. This handout includes help guides, knowledge-based articles for each of the topics that we are covering today. Also, for a smooth experience, everyone has been placed on mute to minimize any background noise. Also, okay, let's go back. Since most of you have joined, let's begin our webinar for today. The topic is ways to limit applicants from applying to an application form. With that, I'll now hand over things to Christine. All yours, Christine. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Enjoy the session.
And thank you, Maureen, for that fine introduction and getting started with our webinar. So let's go ahead and just do a brief introduction of what we're going to be covering today. So of course, this webinar session, we're going to be reviewing some key functionalities that we have available on our site that allow applicants to be limited on who you allow to apply. Who do you allow access to your application forms? You can actually limit access, and that's what we'll be covering today. So along with that, we'll have the pre-qualification questions. Those are questions that are pre-qualifications that limit applicants. It's a yes-no combination. So we'll talk about those here in a few minutes. And then we'll go over the private application process, as well as going over some functionalities in regards to creating a referral form. So we have a pre-designed referral functionality, but we also have a special functionality that's an add-on to your site. It's something that you can reach out to CommunityForce after you see today's presentation, if it's something you think would be beneficial, to where you can create your own referral form. And then when individuals refer someone to an application form with this specific process, it'll create an application, it'll create a profile for them, and it'll allow you to provide questions in that nomination form that allow you to determine if you want them to move forward. So we'll talk about that feature at the end of today's session. So let's go ahead. Of course, who's going to benefit from today's webinar? This is any of you administrators who are responsible for monitoring applicants that apply, determining who's going to be eligible to apply and who are you going to be allowing to apply, and then monitoring those applicants during the application process. So if you're in that individual, then today is going to be of a lot of benefit to you today. So the topics, of course, we're going to go over pre-qualifications, a grant link. What is that? You might have a private application. You don't want to do all these functionalities. What's a simple way to get an application form to somebody if it's private? And then the application invitation, and then we'll take a quick break, and that's when Maureen will address any of the questions that came about during these first three topics, and then she'll address those, and then we'll move on with the rest of the presentation, where we'll talk about the manage applicant referrals, as well as that special feature, the manage applications, that section mapping functionality that we have. And then we'll take a final break and address any questions you may have after seeing those two functionalities. So let's go ahead and get started. I see we have several that have jumped on now, so that's good. So let's go ahead and talk about our first topic, which is using pre-qualification questions. So what are pre-qualification questions? So pre-qualification questions are, it's a little section that's created with some questions. Those questions are yes, no only questions. They can only be a yes reply or a no reply. And then you ask the question, the applicant answers it. If you have like 3 or 4 questions, they have to answer the correct combination of yes, no. If they don't answer that correct combination, then they will get a denial message. They'll get redirected and there'll be a denial message that appears to them. And then in that denial message, more than likely, you'll explain to them why they weren't eligible to apply, and that if they had any questions, who to contact. So first of all, one of the first things you want to do if you are using pre-qualification questions, of course, is determine when you want your applicants to get those pre-qualification questions. So let's go ahead and go to the site, and we'll talk about some of the key settings. There's a setting in the administration dashboard, as well as there's a general information setting that you want to make sure those settings are correctly set up before you even proceed with using pre-qualification questions. So let's go to the site and show you how to set this functionality up. So I am logged in already as an administrator. So the first thing you want to think about is when an applicant comes to your site and they see the list of application forms and they click the apply button, you can determine how they see the pre-qualification questions. Like you may want them to, before they even apply and create a user login, you may want them to see the questions. Or what I prefer is once they've clicked the apply for a specific application, then they're logged in, they click the apply, and then they get the questions once they've created that account. So the setting that we're talking about, the administration dashboard, and this is something that the global admin has access to. So if you're not the global administrator, you would need to reach out to your global admin so that they could set this setting for you. This is a universal site setting. So this is something that is active on all of your application forms. It's not one application specific. It's for all of them. But in each application, when you build, I'll show you how to turn on the functionality within that application. So this is just turning it on site-wide. So I'm going to go to Manage Site Settings. Then from Manage Site Settings, I'm going to scroll down here to about the middle here, and you're going to see a specific site setting, Pre-qualification Questions Display. So this is when you determine, do you want them to get the pre-qualification after they log in or before they log in? So that means they've clicked apply, but they haven't logged in, then they would get them before. They click the apply, they log in. As soon as they log in, they're on that application form waiting to apply, and they get the pre-qualification questions. That's what I prefer, is after login. So then, of course, you make that determination, make the setting, and then be sure to hit save after you've made the appropriate settings so that it saves. So that's the universal. So that activates it. So every application form you create will now have the functionality to be able to have pre-qualification to determine whether it's before or after. So they all already have the functionality. This is just determining whether or not they get, when in the process they get it on their application. So now let's talk about the application itself. So we're going to go home. And then I'm going to open up my application form here. Let's pick this one. And the first thing you want to look at under application settings, when you get there, you're going to want to look at the general information screen. So you're going to see here there's pre-qualification questions, but before you can even use those, you want to make sure you've activated them on the application form. So to activate them in the application form so that they're present when an applicant applies, you do need to go into this general information section and then scroll down, and then you're going to see a toggle that says enable pre-qualification during applicant sign up. So this has to be yes. If this says no, even though you have pre-qualification questions built, if this says no, they will not be able to get those, they will not receive these pre-qualification questions. So this is very important that this says yes if you want to use this functionality. So I'm going to go down here, and then of course I'm going to hit save if you make any changes. And then once you hit save, I'm going to go ahead and hit exit because I've already made the changes. You know that it's ready. And so then what you want to do is you want to go down to this next topic here to pre-qualification questions. And then this is where you build the functionality. This is where you create the questions. I'm going to click on it. Here you have questions. This is where you create the combination for those questions. And then here's where you also create that denial message they get if they do not meet the parameters of that combination. So first step, of course, at the very top here is add a question. It's very easy to build a question. You just click the add a question, screen pops up, and then this is where you would type the message. Remember, the reply is yes, no. It's always going to be yes, no. So you would just ask a basic question, type it in here, and then hit save and exit. So like if I just typed a question of, something that's pertaining, something that is a must be for this application, I would say, are you such and such? And they would say yes or no. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this so you can just kind of see, like here, are you a current employee of the university? Whatever the reply is. You're just creating the question, not the reply yet, just the basic question. Are you pursuing either an undergraduate, bachelor's, specific questions that you're wanting to ask them that must be the incident where they have to say yes or no to. Then once you create these questions, you're going to notice down here, when you create the questions, you're going to get proceed combinations. And you're going to notice there's a column for each one of those 3 questions I have at the top. The reason is you can create multiple combinations. So maybe I want them to say yes to this, say yes to this, and yes to this. But I also could have a scenario where they could say yes to this, no to this, and yes to this, and still be eligible. So that's something, you can really get pretty detailed in the access that you allow them by using the correct combinations and thinking through all the possible combinations that they could be replying as, so that if they do select those parameters, they do have access to get into the application. And then of course, if they don't, then they don't get into the application. So if there was more than one that they could reply as, then you want to make sure and enter those. And how you would enter each one is after you enter it, you hit the plus sign. And then once you hit the plus sign, the next combination comes in, hit the plus sign and go forward. Now I'm going to delete this because I don't want it. Okay. And then down here is if they don't meet the combination, this is where you give them any details explaining why they're not eligible for this and who they can contact if they feel like this was an error or they want to have, something like that for details about the ineligibility. And then of course, once you made all of these changes, you do want to hit save. And then once you hit save, it's ready. You've checked your general information. You know it's been activated. You know when they're going to be receiving it. The applicants will get it. So I'm just going to jump out of here now. And I am going to log in as an applicant just so you can see how it functions for them. So I'm going to log out and I'm going to go to my let's see, let's go to listing. So I'm an applicant, I'm coming in, I want to apply for this application form. And I'm going to click apply. I think it's this one. And then it's going to ask me to log in. So I'm going to log in as the applicant. And they do have to, let's see here, and then log in. And then I have multiple submissions set. So of course, if you allow applicants to apply more than one time to the same application, especially your grant user, you're going to get this screen. If you don't have multiple submission activated on an application, they will not get this. So I'm just going to put on myself. This is my test application. This is all part of that multiple functionality. This is not, if they don't have multiple functionality turned down, they will not get this. Okay, so now I'm here. So if that multiple functionality wasn't turned on, the first thing they would get, since they're logged in, they click apply, there's those pre-qualification questions, and then I answer those, I submit them, And if I met the combination, I'm taken to the application form, to my dashboard, and I can start applying. If I don't meet them, I'm going to get the denial message. So that's how that works. That's how it functions for the applicant. So that is pre-qualification questions. So that's one way. You can pre-qualify. If they don't meet with the qualification, then you've limited those applicants so they cannot apply to this application form. So what's another way that you can keep applicants from applying? Another way is a simple way of that we have a grant link, and whoever has this link on the application can apply. So that link is something that you can email to them. So if you know who needs to receive it, you can give it to them. If you want to give it to a specific counselor, batch of counselors, send it to your counselors. They can send it to the students they want to, and then whoever has that link will be able to apply. Now, one caveat with this is when I show you this link, whoever has that link has access to the application form. So of course, if an applicant gets it, they email it to someone else, that individual has access as well. So that's what we'll do here. I'll show you how to get to it, but that's just one thing I want you to know, that if you do use that, whoever has this link is going to be able to apply to that application form, no matter what source they got it from. So let's go back to the site so I can show you where that link is. I'm going to log out here. I got to get back here and close that, log out as this applicant, log back in as the administrator here. And I'm going to go, so that link says grant link. So even though you're a scholarship user, don't be alarmed and say, oh, we don't have grants. That's what it's called even on the scholarship site. So don't be alarmed when you see that. It's the link that takes them to the funding. It goes off of the funding source. So the funding source is what always drives your application. You always have to have a funding source with every application, whether it's a posting fund or the actual fund they're applying to. So that's where the link is housed, is under the funding source itself. So I'm going to click on the fund, manage application funds, and I'm just going to search for the one that I want so I get the correct one. Let's search. Okay, so here I have my application. This is going to be my one-to-one application form. I don't want everyone to have access. So if you notice here, the publish, this is the key that makes an application private or public. The funding source, if it is published no, that means this application is private and only individuals either given a link to it or through one of the functionalities that we talk about today, the link or the application invitation, then they're allowed to apply. So right now we're talking about the link. So right now you can see here's my application. I do not have it published. It's a private application form. So if I go over here and I click on the application name, and maybe if I have an application, I'm not sure if I want to make it private, I can go in, I can edit, and then I'll show you where there's a little toggle here. There's a published, viewable to applicant. If it says no, that also tells you that it's not published either. So that has to be set to no. And then of course, once that's set to no, if I go back to the fund detail page, here on this page here, so remember I was in that fund list, I clicked the application name and it took me to this screen here. Over here, you're going to see a funding opportunities link. This is the link that allows anyone access to apply to that application form. So all you need to do is click this little copy button. It links, it creates that copy, and then embed it into an email, or send it to any individual you wish. But remember, whoever gets it, whoever has it, can have access to the site. So I'm just going to plug it in. I'm just going to paste it here on my browser, hit enter, so you can see what they have. So what they do is they get the link, they click the link, and then it takes them here to where they can log in, and they can also click the apply. The reason I can't click the apply is because I've got multiple users right now on my browser, and so it won't let me click that apply button, of course. But they will be able to click the apply if they have the actual link to the application form. So that's how you do the grant link, giving them a grant link, and then they can go in and apply to it. Okay, so I'm going to close that. Okay, so then the next item I want to talk about is, instead of giving them a link, another way you can give them access is by inviting them to the application form. So you can actually, anyone who has a user account, they do have to have user profiles on the site already. So they have to have their profiles created in order to be invited to the application form. So the first step, of course, is all those user profiles would need to be created in the system. And then once they're created, they can be invited to apply. So this is a good tool maybe for universities as well as grant users. If you're a grant user and you want to invite certain organizations to apply to an application form, you want to limit who you invite. They already have user accounts on the site. If they already have user accounts on the site, then you can go ahead and invite them. Same with universities. Those students more than likely may have accounts on the site already. You can go ahead and create accounts for everyone if you know who you're going to be inviting. And then when you send them the email, you can have that password information in there if you wish, or give them instructions to click the forgot password to create a password. You can actually, in the invite, in the email that goes out, give them the information so that they can get a, change the password, so that you might probably, when you create an account for them, you might give them a generic password, and then you can use that forgot password functionality. Okay, so the application invitation, what it does is it invites applicants to the application to apply. And then once they've been invited to apply, then they can begin the application for the process for that. So there are a couple settings that you want to think about. There's two different ways you can do the application invitation process. The first one is when you invite the applicant to apply, they get a link that takes them to the application. They have to use the link from the email that they've received. They can't go into the browser, plug something in. They have to use the link that's within that email with the application process. Otherwise, they won't have access to it. So in that email, they will receive a link. They click the link. Then they can take them to the application. They can click the apply and apply. That's one way. The second way is that as soon as you invite the applicant, then what it does is it automatically starts the application for them. It's already started and it's sitting in their My Application tab. That's the process I prefer. That way, all they have to do is go to their My Application tab. They don't have to worry about finding that email if they lose it, finding the link. It's in their My Applications tab, just waiting for them to complete the application form. So what are some key settings that set these functionalities? What are some things you need to think about before you use this process? So let's go to the site here. So the first thing is if I go to the administration tab. So remember, anytime you're in the administration tab, these functionalities have to be set by the global administrator. So your global administrator is the one that has to set this feature up on the site, this specific toggle that we're going to be discussing. And then this is also, once you set the settings, I'm in administration, I'm going to go to site settings. And under manage site settings, you're going to scroll down and there's a specific setting right here. Enable automatic application creation through application invitation. So if this says yes, as soon as you invite them, it's going to start the application and put it there in their My Applications tab. If this says no, then they're going to get a link. You can want to make sure you have that link in your email template, which we'll talk about in a minute. They get that link, they click it, and then they apply. And then it'll be in their My Applications tab after they've started the application process. So right now I have this set to yes, but this is a universal site. So if I set it here, all of my application forms going forward on my site are going to function in this manner. So this is where if you have multiple departments, multiple applications with across multiple departments, you need to determine how all your departments are going to use this feature if you use this application invitation functionality, so that when the setting is set, everybody has the same process and they're all satisfied with the functionality, and this is how they want it to function. Okay, so once it's set, of course, anytime you make a change in your site settings, you want to make sure to save it. And then once it's set, the other element, depending on what you determine here, you want to look at is the actual email that goes out, because that email that goes to the applicant is what's going to give them the instructions on how to proceed. So if I go into my application form, I want to check my email template because I want that to be the correct message so that they can proceed as needed. And I'm going to go to notifications. And the email template I want to look at is this application invitation template. This is the template that's pre-designed on your system. And I have 2 messages built in mine. You won't have this, of course, but there's the message here that you want to look at is, of course, what's the message saying? Here it says you've been invited to apply, so that's the application name, and this is by invitation only. This invitation has been assigned to, and it gives them the email date, gives them the deadline date. Now this is the key here. This one right here, to access this application, please use this link. This is the one you need this statement if they are going to have to click the link and then click the apply themselves. Otherwise, if you're having the application automatically start for them, you can remove this statement. Okay, they don't need this link. But if they are not getting started automatically, you need that link. So it's important that you determine, once you made that determination, if you need the link, you've got that in there, and then the message is applicable to that. And then of course, then create your message. You notice here I do have my user ID and password. I can give that to them in this specific email, but use caution. Again, another thing to use caution is, remember, this is going to their email. This is once it gets to their email, you don't know, what hacking is happening on their site, and so then those credentials are out there in the open, of course. And once it gets to their email account, you don't have any control of what happens once it gets to their email. Okay, but this is the key. You want the link, and then if you want to provide the username and password so that they can log in as well. And then the application name is giving them the name of the application. And then of course, once they start, you might want to give them instructions on click apply. And then once you click apply, it'll appear in your My Applications tab and can be accessed. The other way is I would just probably remove and just put you've been invited to apply to this application. It's been assigned to your email ID. Here's your login credentials. And then once you log in, go to your My Applications tab and access it from there. That's the second way. Very simple. They don't need a link. They don't need to worry about keeping the email. It's already started for them. Okay, so that's the 2 settings. So then the next thing, of course, is inviting them. Once they've got a user account, you've got your settings set, you just go right here under the notification tab. The next functionality here is application invitation. And then this is where you're going to invite them. You can see it's a very simple screen. It's just a matter of filtering on the individual. So let's say I want to invite Christine to this application form. I can search for her name. Remember, she's got a user account already. There she is. I'm going to select her. I'm going to move her over to the right, and then I'm going to hit save here, and then click OK. Okay, so now it's done. She's received the invitation, and because I have that functionality set to automatically start the application form for her, it's sending the email to her. All she's got to do now is just log into her site log into the site using the credentials. Once she logs in using the credentials, she's going to go to that My Applications tab that they all have, where they do their application forms, where they can come in and out as much as they wish. But then you also are going to see, if I go to manage applications here, that was Christine Smith. I can search here on Smith. Oops. My finger's on the right key. Search. Search. And there it is, pending submission. Now, let's say you have multiple submissions set. So, especially if you're a grant user, this would be something that you would have. So you have multiple programs, you're inviting an organization to apply, and you're allowing them to apply more than once for each program that they have. So how do you invite those individuals? Well, one, you would want to make sure you have multiple functionality turned on in the general information section. So if you're using that, you should know how that functions. Once it's turned on and you go to invite someone, you'll see here when I did the invitation, so let's go back to the application invitation here. So I've already invited them, so how do I do it again? I can't search for their name, it's gone. This is where that send new invite comes into play. So if I select Christine, I know, okay, she's got multiple programs. I need to allow her to apply multiple times. Maybe she told me she has 3 programs. I'm going to do this 3 times. So I'm going to select her, hit send a new invite. As soon as I do that and I go back to the manage applications, she's going to have another occurrence for that specific functionality. Okay, so there you're going to see now that she's listed twice because I've invited her twice. And then she can apply to this application, finish it, enter her program name so you can identify which is which. And then the same with this one. She goes in, does the same with this. So however many times you wish. Now, if you want to uninvite somebody, it's just a matter of going in to that functionality, the application invitation, and application invitation. And then coming over here, selecting their name. Notice it's listing them twice, moving them over to the right. Click OK. Now notice when you do this, just so you know, when you do this, and then you want to click save, when you do this, it will remove that application completely from the site. So one, if they haven't started the application, I recommend it. If they've started it, then I recommend you just go into the manage applications and then do a withdrawal there if you wish, or whatever, or delete it from there if you prefer as well. And then once you hit save, are you sure? I'm going to click OK. And then you're going to notice it only has the one occurrence now available for them to apply. And then I would do the same with that one. I would come here, move them to the left, hit save, and then that would remove their application invitation and the application form as well. Okay, so that's application. So I'm going to pause there and turn the mic over to Maureen. I see a few questions did come through. So let's see how she answered those and any more that may come in. It's all yours, Maureen.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, we do have a few questions. The first one is, the applicant is qualified for the pre-qualification question, but they receive a message that they are not eligible. So they are getting the denial message. There could be 2 reasons. Number one is maybe the applicant is not understanding the pre-qualification questions correctly and giving the wrong combination of yeses and nos. That could be one of the reasons. Another reason is maybe the admin has not set up the yes and no combinations correctly. So either first the admin go back and check the combination that you have set up correctly, the questions are set up correctly. Secondly, please ask the applicant if they reach out to you, because in the denial message, we suggest that you add a contact information if they have reached out, right? So ask them if they are entering the combination correctly, that they are understanding the questions. So those are a few things. Otherwise, the last option is to reach out to our support team. If both the things are working fine, maybe there is some HTML text that is present in the denial message or the questions. So reach out to us through Zendesk, raise a support ticket. One of our support team specialists will get back to you with a resolution. Okay. Okay, this other question is important. If an applicant does not pass the pre-qualification questions, are they still marked as pending? No. If an applicant does not qualify the pre-qualification questions, the application does not get assigned to them. Basically, their name will not show up in the application list at all. So they are not in any status at all. Okay. Um, then do we have any other options aside from yeses and nos? No, unfortunately, this is a very brief way of asking your questions and filtering them out as a let's just say pre-application. If you have more answers such as options, more options like 3 or 4 options within a certain question, then we suggest you create a section and call it as a preliminary section or a preliminary round of qualification questions, and then reach out to us at clientsuccess@communityforce.com. We'll do a process review with you and we'll help you set those up. But apart from yes and no with the pre-qualification question setup, we do not offer other options. It will not work. Also, the last one that says is, can I add conditional logic to pre-qualification questions? Unfortunately, no, there's a limitation. We try to keep as less work involved with the pre-qualifications as we can. It's just to filter out the applicants. Okay. If you need additional help, reach out to us and we'll help you with that. Okay, and then we have a few questions on, just give me a second there. Can I customize the email template for the application invitation? Yes, absolutely. That's what Christine has suggested. Christine, can we go to notifications, please? Under notifications, there is an email template that is specifically meant for application invitation. You can definitely customize it. Add more merge fields, links that you want to add, guide, if you would like to add some more instructions for your applicants, etc. You can definitely customize your email template in that. Can I invite someone to complete an application with multiple submissions? Yes. Yes, you could do that. So in application settings, you are enabling multiple submissions. Once that is enabled under application invitation, Christine, can we go to application invitation? It will show you another option that will not be there for the ones that do not have multiple submissions enabled. Thank you so much, Christine. So if we scroll down, see that one says send a new invite. You can send a new invite to the very same person. All that they're doing is entering a different, starting a new application. That's it. So multiple submissions, you can definitely use that. And then there is another question that says, what are the benefits and drawbacks for inviting them? That is for the application process. Are there any stats to show which method gets the best reaction from the applicants? So number one, Joette, we do not have any stats available. We have quite a lot of organizations and with us, they have multiple applications running, and all these applications could have different processes. While one has application invitations, that is private applications, the others could be public applications. So unfortunately, we do not have stats on that. The benefit, I would just say that benefit is for you are only getting a set of applicants in here, right? You're not getting a pool of applicants that you do not want to deal with. That first round of this decision making of who goes into the next process of even evaluating them, you're reducing that first step altogether. You're completely getting rid of the first step. When you apply for these applicants, you already know that these applicants are eligible to apply, right? These are good. I know their GPAs, I know their majors, I know their minors, I know what they are qualified and their activities maybe. So this is a set of applicants that you know are eligible to apply for this application or the funding. So you're basically reducing the applicant pool, thus reducing workload. The drawback would be is a little bit more work for the administrator. You're dealing with the administrator that is dealing with the application, creating the application contact, inviting them to apply. That is one drawback that I would say, but it is going to streamline your process a lot more. I hope that answer is helpful. Izzy, can you just specify what would you like us to demo? And then we'll see if Christine can demo it for you. So
Okay.
those are my answers. Thank you so much, everyone. Back to you, Christine. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Maureen. And then just so you know, I did just lose some internet connection, so I'm not exactly sure what all you covered at the end there. But what I'm going to do is I do see the question about deleting a pre-qualification question, so I'll go ahead and demo how to do that real quick, because that's a good thing to know how to do. So I'm just going to go back to the application here. I'm going to go back to the application settings screen. It's a very simple functionality to delete. So just go to the pre-qualification questions. And if you want to delete a question, if you don't want one of these questions here, you just come over here, you see the little delete, you hit that delete, and then make sure to click save, and then that will remove that question. As soon as you delete the question, the combination as well. If you want to delete combinations, there's a little delete over here, a little trash can, and you can delete that specific combination and be sure to click save. So hopefully that answers your question on how to delete those. And then it's a very simple process. You just go in, look at the question, hit the delete, and then and hit save, and then that'll be gone from that specific site. Somebody said, is there an easy way to invite 50 applicants to apply? One way the only one thing, if you can group, one time some of people you can actually filter by sponsoring organization. So if you created users and then you put those users in sponsoring orgs, then when you do the invite process, then all of those applicants that are in that specific organization, so like you can use, like some use them for universities, they might have departments. So this department, all the applicants that fall under that department, they actually create just a little internal sponsoring organization. And then when they create those user profiles, they put all those user profiles tied to that organization in the build of the profile. And then once they go to do the invite functionality, they go into the invite here and application invitation and filter. And here you can filter by a specific organization, and then you'll filter that organization and get just the applicants for that. If I'm here, let's say if I'm searching, let's see, let's just hit the search here with it blank. So if I hit the search when it's blank, I get all of my applicants, and I can just hit my shift key just like you do. I can select multiple, I can scroll, I can select some more. Whoever I select, then it'll pull over and put them to the left as well. So hopefully that helps answer that question on that application invitation and doing it in batches. Okay, so now let's proceed now with the managing of the applicant referral. So manage applicant referral. So we have the main functionality that we have, which is a pre-designed functionality on our site, is the first one I want to talk about. And this allows you to have individuals nominate applicants to a specific application form. So a nominee, like a guidance counselor, maybe they can go to the site, they scroll through the applications, and they say, okay, I want to nominate a specific student to apply to this application form. So they nominate the student, you go in as the admin, and then you approve, or you can turn off to once they nominate it, it automatically sends an email to that individual. Once that email goes to that individual, they can click on it, and that will take them to the application process to begin applying for that application form. So once they apply, you can either approve or deny, and you can turn that off and on. I'll show you how to do that. There's a certain functionality that you have to turn on in site settings. Again, another functionality that has to be turned on in site settings. Once it's turned on, then this referral process is available. So I'll show you how to turn it on, and then also show you how that individual would refer someone to a specific application. Where does that referral button appear for you to do that? Okay, so let's see here. Let me go back to the site and get out of this. I'm going to go to the administration tab. And this is the first thing your global admin, in order to use the referral functionality, would have to do is go into the administration tab under site settings and activate the functionality. And since I lost my site, it's going to kick me out here. So let me just go back. Let me log in again. Okay, so I'm going to log in. Okay, I'm going to go to the administration tab here and go to site settings. And under site settings, there's going to be a whole section created just for the referral functionality, and it's right here under referral settings. So I'm going to open that up, and then this is where you activate the functionality. So this one right here activates the functionality, the yes or the no. If it's no, the functionality is not activated and you won't have any of the elements available for that specific feature. If it says yes, then it's going to activate the functionality. You're going to see here I have a managed global applicants, which I'll talk about that, the difference. And then within each application form, you also have a managed global applicant referral that'll be appearing on that side as well for the individual application. So that's what this turns it on. Also, when you're searching as an applicant for applications, you're going to have a referral form button at the very top of that search page, which I'll show you that here in a minute. So that's what turns it off and on. The other two things are determinations of you can do it this way or you can have this functionality. This one is enable agency screen. So when an individual nominates someone, they input, who they are as well as who they're nominating, and then where they're from. So this agency screen activates the agency screen where if they have a typo or something like that, you as an admin can go in and change that name. It's only the name, nothing else in regards to that. It just allows you to change the name. The enable applicant referral approval. This makes the determination of once someone refers somebody, is it automatically approved? Or do I have to go in as the admin, look at the list of the applicants that were referred, and then make a determination, do I want to approve them to apply? And so that's what this is. If it says yes, then I have to intervene as the admin for them to be able to get the email to direct them to the application form that they should apply to. The no then means that as soon as the individual that's recommending, so like if it's a school counselor or something like that, as soon as they get recommended, it automatically sends the email to the applicant. The applicant goes in and they see the application. Okay, you recommend I apply to this one. Okay, I'm going to apply to it, and then they can start the application process. So that's what that does. It either allows you as the admin to make the determination if you want to allow them, or automatically as soon as they get invited by the nominee, it'll start. So let me go to the functionality. So that once that's turned on, you'll have a managed global applicant referral. So this is for every application form, because this is, once you turn it on, it's on every application form. Here is the managed global. This allows you to see it's global. So it allows you to see every application that someone has been referred to from somewhere. Maybe it'll open. There it is. So this is every application and all the referrals and where it is in the process. If it's been approved, it's pending approval, and so forth. You're only going to see pending approval if you have that functionality turned on that you need to approve. So that's the global. The actual one on the application form, if I go home and I go into the individual application form, then here under the first screen, you have manage renewal applicants. And that's the same thing. As soon as someone is referred to this specific application form, so this application form doesn't have any referrals, but as soon as they would get referred, they would start showing up here in this listing. So now let me go out and show you how it looks from the person that's referring it. So I'm going to log out here. And I'm going to go to my view funding opportunities so you can see where this referral form is. At the top of the page, because I've turned that functionality on, is this referral form. So all the referee needs to do is click the referral form, find the application they want to invite someone to. So let's see here, I want to invite them to this application. So I guess put in my name. This is the person I want to refer. And with this specific functionality, the individual does have to have a login on the site already. Let's just grab this so it's quick. Give this the email address, and then where am I from, and then what's my name. Oh, come on now. There we go. And then my name, just gonna plug this in real quick. Okay, and then hit save. And then it's gonna say it's been saved successfully, so I know I did it. Now here's something, if they're doing multiple referrals, it's a nice little feature. They're gonna click OK. As soon as they click OK, the screen is blank and they're ready to do another referral to the same application form. So that, I'm gonna, here you can see they can just go on, and it keeps all that data. So all they have to do is just keep putting, if they are, especially if they're a school counselor, they can put in multiple applicants, and then it's sending the email to that student or the applicant that they referred, and then that applicant can, once they, depending on what I have turned on, once they've been approved, if it's automatic or admin intervention to approve them, then they get the email where they can go ahead and start applying. So now I'm going to log in so you can see what that agency functionality, whoops, wrong person. Log out. Log in. I think I did that one. Hope I. No. Okay. So here it would have the data here. Let me go into one here. Might have picked the wrong one. Manage applicant referrals. I hit the wrong button. That's probably where I went wrong. I apologize. Manage applicant referrals. There we go. There it is. And so there's one that's approved. So that meant that they've got the email, and now here's the pending approval. And then up here is the admin. This is where you've got your functionality. If you want to approve them, you can come here and click approve, but it's not going to send an email. The one that sends the email is if you select it, the approve and send email. If you don't want to approve them, then you want to hit the decline, and then they won't even get anything. But the approve and send email is what's going to send them the email. And then if I do that, let me just do that here real quick. And then you can actually give them a message that they can see, that comment that'll be on that application. They can start here, test. And then give them the message and then hit save, and then they will have that message available. Okay, so that's the approval process. Now, remember I talked about the manage agencies. So if I select this and I go to manage agency, all it's going to do is just give me that name, and then I can click on it. I have a text box where I can change it. Maybe I want to clean it up because I have multiple counselors. They're all using different names. So I just kind of want to maybe start making them all consistent. Then I can go in and do it that way. And that's the only purpose of that agency toggle in that site setting, is to create that agency name and get a more consistent listing of names. Okay, so that's the canned version. And as you can see, those questions that are on that referral form are static. They cannot be changed. There's no way to change that form. That's the questions that are there. Now, another functionality I want to talk about, though, that allows you to create a form, a referral process, is called the Manage Application Section Mapping. Now, this is a special feature. It does have to be activated by CommunityForce first. You're not going to see anything in site settings. It's something that you have to contact us. Once you contact us, then it will be active on your system. And what this functionality is you create your first application form, which is a nomination form. And that's where you create the questions that you want them to answer, the nominee to complete on behalf of that applicant. And then the nominee completes those questions, and then they submit that application form. Once that application form has been submitted, you as the admin go in and review it. You do have to go in and review it, and then you make the determination on whether they're to move forward. How you then get them to move forward is there'll be a second application. When I say move forward, there'll be a second application, which is private more than likely. And then based on the nomination, if you approve them, then you put them to a specific status detail. And as soon as they get to that status detail in the nomination form, what's going to happen is the system is going to create a user account for them. They do not have to have a login ID. The system will create that for them based on the parameters that the nominee put into the application form, which I'll talk about how the system knows by these fields here in a minute. And then what it does is it takes that data and pushes it to the second application form, creates the user account, starts the application for them in the second application form, and then based on XML in the section that I built for the nominee, it will push that same data down into the application form as well. I can have that section available in that second application already populated when the applicant starts the application form. It sends an email to the applicant when it's creating their account and says an application form's been started for you. Please go in and begin the application. Okay, so there's two elements that are very important. So we're going to build a section in my first nomination application. And in that section, and there's two fields that are must-have requirements, and they have to be named an XML name with the specific naming parameters. The first field is NF name, and that's where you're going to put their first name and their last name, and that's going to be their user profile name. The user profile, what's the first name and the last name, that's the name. It's a one field. You're going to put both the first name and the last name in that field. The second field you have to have is called NF_email address. This is the email address that the system is going to create a user account for them, and the email address it's going to send the message to that they can begin the application. So those fields are the most important ones that have to be in the specific functionality. The next thing you have to do then is once the person's approved, and then the administrator, you need to determine what do you want your status detail to be. So they're going to be at a specific status, which more than likely is going to be submitted. They've submitted, the nominee has submitted the application form. And then you as the admin want to create a status detail that is going to be for this functionality that is going to tell the system that when you put it, when they're at a status of submitted and you put them to a status detail of XYZ, start the process, push them to the second application, push this applicant that's in this field, create it, push it into the application, start the application for them, and send an email to that individual so they know that there's an application for them to apply to. So you want to make sure what is your status detail and that you've got these fields built. And then you got to create your source application and your target application. The source is the one the nominee is completing. The target is the one that the applicant's going to be completing themselves. So let's go to the site. I have one built already, so you can kind of see how we built it out. And then I will show you how a nominee does that. So I have two applications. So my first application here is my nomination form. So this is the one that anyone who wants to nominate someone to apply to this application, I have to tie it to that application. Each application process would have to have its own nomination form. So here I have my nomination form, and then this is the application. So you can see one is published, one's private. The one that's published is the one that the nominators can see. When I click on this application form, you'll see how I have it built out. If I go to application settings, I only have one section. That's just the questions that I've created for that nominee to complete, the one nominating. This is the nomination form. I have my XML name here, which is important. The section name, I need to know what I named it, because when this gets pushed to, when the pushing functionality happens in that second application, I want to keep this section, I want to have this section in that application as well, so that I'm completing it and I've got it in there. So I want to make sure I know that information, because that XML name and the question XML all needs to be consistent, because it's just like with any import functionality. It's looking at that XML to know what to import into the second application form. So here's my nomination form. And this is just an idea. You just build it like you do any other section. There's all my questions, but remember there's those two key questions we have to have, and I have those here. I have my NF name and I have my NF email address. This XML is very important. The first name and last name, it says, note this name will be used to create the student login profile. So if I put in Christine Smith-Jones, it's going to be first name Christine, last name Smith-Jones when it creates their profile. The email address is the email address that's going to be for their profile as well. That's how the system knows how to create it. It's going to go out to your users and it's going to see, okay, if they have something, then it won't create, but it will still push them to the application. But if it doesn't find their email address, then it's going to create a whole new account for them. So that's why it's important. These two fields are the most important fields in this whole process, because if you don't have them, it's not going to function. You're also going to notice a little helpful hint. You don't have to do this. Some of you may not even have the program name activated, but if you use program name, you might know what I'm talking about. Program name is a specific question type that has a column so that when you're looking at your applications, you can see which is which. With this nomination functionality, I like to have the program name, because remember, this application that we're looking at right now is the nomination form. So it's not going to show me who the actual applicant being nominated in when I'm looking at manage applicants. It's going to show me the nominee's name. The nominee is the one that has a user account. The nominee is going in and recommending this person. The nominee is going to be who's listed as my applicant on this form. So if I want to know who they're nominating, if they're nominating multiple people, I create a program name question type, and then I'll show you here in a minute what it does, but that program name will create a column and I'll be able to see the applicant, which is the nominee, and they'll have a separate application nomination for every applicant that they're nominating, because they have to do this for every different applicant. Okay, so that's the key there. Then over here in manage applications, so that's the form. Whatever questions you want to ask, you build. Over here, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So Christine Smith is the nominee. She's the applicant in this scenario. She's nominated Christine Test 1. Okay, and so when the functionality happens, which it's already happened in my scenario here, it's sent an invitation to Christine. But right now I can see that this nominee, if she's got more than one nomination, it's going to start giving me, and it's going to tell me who those individuals are in the program name, so that I can say, okay, did Christine nominate Christine Test 1? Oh yes, she did. Okay, I see everybody that Christine has nominated. So that's what that little helpful hint is all about. Okay, so that's the nomination form. Then the next application, before I do any settings, is I need to go and I need to build the second application. So the second application is the actual application that the applicant that's been nominated is going to complete. Just like any application form you create, this is the one that they're going to be, all their data is going to get pushed to. They're going to have an application started for them, and then they're going to be able to start applying. So here I see, I go to application settings. Within application settings, when I created this application, I also created an exact replica of that nomination form. I have it in here. That nomination form, I want it to push the data from one application to the other. So I have my question XML. All that has to match. It all has to be consistent. If it doesn't, it's not going to push the data down and populate these questions. So I have this nomination form, and when the applicant starts it, it's going to be sitting there already completed, and then all they have to do is complete the rest of the application. If you don't want the applicant, you want it to be a part of the application, but you don't want the applicant to see this, then you can just make this a staff section. It'll still be populated for you as the admin to see, because you might say, okay, this applicant completed this. Who was the person that nominated? I don't remember who that was. You actually, as a staff member, can actually have that nomination form if you select staff section here and make it a staff section. Okay, otherwise, if you don't, then the applicant can see it as well. They can see who nominated it, them, and the data that was completed on their behalf. Okay, so once you have the two applications built, you have the nomination and you have the actual application that they're going to be applying to, this is where you need to then tell the system, how is this going to function? So if I go out to the, let's see, administration tab here, and this is something the global admin has to set up, and once it's turned on, you're going to have a functionality right here called Manage Application Section Mapping. This is where you're going to tell the system what's the nomination application. So here is what you're going to do. It's very, very intuitive here. It says the applicant will be auto-created. The target application will be auto-created. The applicant's application data will be copied from the source application, which is the nomination application, to the target application, which is the second application that they're actually applying to based on mappings. The applicant will get an application invitation email with the information as to how to proceed. And then the owner of the source application will also get an email. That's the nominee. The nominee is going to get an email and the applicant's going to get an email when the parameters are set. So what we're doing here is we're telling the system when this event happens, do all 5 of these steps. When this event happens, do all 5 of these steps. So what I'm telling the system is start the process when an application form has submitted, and this is an and, this is not an and or, this is an and. Start the process when the status changes to submitted and the status detail changes to invitation sent. So as soon as an applicant submits their application form, nothing's going to happen. But as soon as I, as the admin, change the status detail to invitation set, and they're at the status of submitted already, as soon as I do that in the Manage Application screen, it's going to do this functionality. It's going to trigger the system to do it, and it's going to do this all 5 of these steps automatic. To create that mapping, I come down here to create mapping, and then I tell the source application, which would be that nomination. I've already got this set up. And then the target application, I'm just going to pick these 2 real quick here. So the source is going to be the nomination form, and then the target's going to be the application that they're actually applying to. There's an old one here. This is the application. Send email to the owner of the application. That's the owner of the source application. Yes, I want to send them an email. And then here, this is where I tell the system in my nomination form, this is the section that's called nomination form. When it gets to my target application, look for a specific section, nomination form. When you see both of those, dump the data in this nomination form into this nomination form based on the XML names that are in both of those fields. So it knows from the source application, input this data into this application based on the XML. And then you save all this, and then it's built. So here you can see, here's my application for my 2025. My source is my nomination form. This is my application. Send an email. I can actually view this if I want to view it. How I have it set up, nomination form to nomination form. I can come over here if I want to edit it. You can click the edit to edit it. or you can actually delete that, which I don't want to delete it. Of course, you can hit the delete and you can delete that whole process and start over. Okay, so that's how you set it up. So you build two applications, a nomination form and the actual application. Then you come here, set the trigger. Then you come here, what's the source, what's the target, and then what do I import from that application form? From that application to this application, all this data that's here, what's the section you want me to import it into? So it gets to the right section. Okay, so that's how it's set up. So now let's see it in action. So I'm going to log out here. And I'm going to log in as the nominator. I think I can log in as Christine. And log in. So I'm the nominator. I'm not the applicant. I'm the nominator. And I'm going to find that application form. There it is. First of all, let's search. That's the first one I did. So I'm fresh to this. I'm coming in. I'm going to look for that application if I don't know what it is, and you as the admins haven't given it to me. So I will have to search for it and know which one it is. It's this one right here, nomination. This is the actual form. I, as the nominator, I'm going to start a new application. And I do have multiple submission on this. So and I'm going to click apply. And so this is my dashboard. Remember, I'm the nomination form, so I'm just going to come here, complete it like I would an applicant. I'm an applicant completing an application form at this stage. What's the name of the school? So you can kind of see, you can give whatever questions you want. I'm Christine. Student meets the criteria. What's my phone number? I'm just going to quickly plug it in. Okay, now this is where you have to put the applicant or the student's information in my scenario here. Remember I said those fields, full name? Okay, and then my email address for the applicant. Let me see if it's gonna do a hyphen. We'll just kind of see if it can do that. Okay. So this here, it says, note this name will be used to create their login. So what's her login name? Student email address, what's their email address? Put that in. And then what's the actual name? Whoops. Fill this out. Sorry about that. I'm using a new tablet. It's a lot smaller, so we'll give her the same address. It doesn't matter. As long as the email is unique and the first and last name is unique. What did it do? It did an autocorrect here, didn't it? Let's do this. I might have done that earlier. I'm just doing this to see if it'll take a hyphenated name, because that may come up in the questions. And save and next. Okay, it says 93%. That means I missed something. What did I miss? What required field? Gender. Okay. Okay. So now I've completed that, and now I'm just going to go through like a normal application. I'm going to do my final review and submit. Continue with the review, just like a normal applicant would be reviewing. Everything looked good. Yep, I'm going to hit submit. It tells me it's been created. Okay, very good. So now nothing's happened yet. So I'm going to log out. Now I'm going to go in as the admin. So the nominator has nominated their individual. I'm going to go as the admin so you can see how it triggers everything. Support, log in. And if I go up here right now, this is the actual application you're going to see. I shouldn't have an orange peel in there. Nope. Okay, I'm going to go home. But let's go to the actual nomination form. If I go to the nomination form, what am I going to see? There it is. So see, Christine Smith is the same nominator. She's nominated multiple, that's why that multiple submission is there, so that somebody can nominate multiple people. And I can see, okay, she's nominated this applicant and she's nominated this applicant as well. Okay, if I want to know any details, I can go in and look at the dashboard. If I want to see who they nominated, more details. Excuse me. I can see, okay, that's Christine, and this is the email address that she nominated. Okay, so now I'm like, okay, everything looks good. I'm going to approve this person. So what do I need to do to approve them? So I'm going to go to Manage Applications. And right now, their status is submitted. Now remember, when I created this, I said it had to be submitted, but it also has to be invitation sent. So the trigger isn't going to happen until I change their status detail to invitation sent. So I'm going to come over here, select Christine. I'm going to come over here to filter, and I'm going to do change status detail to invitation sent. I'm going to hit the change status detail here. If I want to put a note here so that this is to the nominee, because this is to the applicant on this specific application, I want them to know approved your applicant. I can do something like that, and then they can actually go in on their My Application tab and see this specific message because I selected Show to Applicant. Hit Save, and now as soon as I've done all this, it's doing all its little thing in the background. It's creating a user account if there's not one. It's creating an application for this applicant, and it's sending an email to this applicant, Christine Orange Peel. So I'm going to go home. And I'm going to go look at the other application. It's also started that application for her. So now if I go here, we should see, fingers crossed. Whoops, I went into the wrong one. I went into the nomination. Sorry. This is the application I want to go in. And there is the application, 2025 application form. Must have had a so what happens is if it does find an email address already out there with the same email, it will go ahead and keep that data. It won't overwrite it because it's already got that information. So it's not going to overwrite it. But here I can go in. This is the second one, I think. Here. And there you can see there's the dashboard. And then there's the nomination form already completed, because remember I had the XML and I told it in that functionality to populate that, and now as an applicant I can continue with the application form. So that's the nomination process and how that functions. And so you can see how it pushed the data to that. So I'll go ahead and stop there. I'm sorry, I apologize for going over time a little bit, but I did want to make sure that you saw it from both perspectives and saw how to set that up. And I'll turn it over to you, Maureen, for any final questions.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, we do have a few questions. The first one is related to the referral form that we covered right before the section mapping. So it says, can I change or customize my referral form that is in the system? As Christine has mentioned, the referral form is cannot be changed. If you want to create another referral form, the second option that Christine has offered for section mapping is better, because you can have custom fields built into it. But the referral form, we cannot change it. It cannot be customized. Okay. How do I add or remove some referral agencies from the school agency drop down list? As Christine was showing, there at the top there is a school school agency drop-down list from where the referee is actually selecting the name of the school or the agency. If you want to remove any of your agencies from that list, reach out to us through our support team. It can be done from the back end. So our team will assist you in removing that school or agency in the referral list. Okay. Then there is a question that says, I am interested in setting up the section mapping application. Can CommunityForce help me set this up? Absolutely, yes. Please reach out to either support, open a ticket with us on support on Zendesk, or write an email to clientsuccess@communityforce.com. Send or share all relevant documents with us. We will sit down, we will analyze, we will have a team analyze your documentation. We'll set up a process review call with you, and we'll guide you accordingly. If you still want to proceed with CommunityForce setting it up for you, both the applications, then we'll guide you accordingly. We'll do a consultation with you on the call itself. Okay. So yes, we are here to assist you always. Please feel free to reach out to clientsuccess@communityforce.com, and one of us will get back to you with an answer or a resolution or a solution to that. Okay, that's from my side, Christine. Not many questions in the second portion.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone. Back to you,
perfect.
Christine. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen, for answering those questions. And of course, like she said, if section mapping is something that you're interested in, please feel free to enter a support ticket, and we can see if that's something that would be a benefit to you, and then help you get to that setup as well. So of course, also please be sure to get the handout so that you get the resources and the quick links to some of the areas, so that if you have more questions and want a little bit more detail on some of it, you can go into those links, and that'll take you to our help desk, to where you can have access to all of our user guides and knowledge base, so that you can see more information on those through those links. So I do want to thank everyone for attending today's session, and there will be a recording of it available in your inbox with probably by end of day tomorrow. Again, also, if you have any questions, like we just said, feel free to reach out to Zendesk and ask for assistance with a client support specialist, and see if you can get a meeting with them to help you with your process and go over some of those to see if any of this is a good fit to you. And then this is the information here that'll take you directly. This link right here will take you to our knowledge base as well, so that you can access all the user guides and the videos and FAQs. So again, thank you everyone for attending, and look forward to meeting with you all on our next session, which should be in a couple of weeks. Everyone take care, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.